Now, I think the build-up and ending of Attack on Titan is exciting, and I do think it is cool, but the point of this video is that I also think it could have been a lot better. Unlike most end of AOT videos that only talk about the philosophy of Eren and whether his character arc concludes well, I'm not really bothered by that at all. There are 3 things that I feel really led Attack on Titan astray and caused it to become something of a missed opportunity. 1. The roles of the protagonists. 2. The conclusions of the villains. And 3. The entire Marleyan Eldian thing. Now let's start with this third point, the alternative to all of this. Because the best thing for Isayama to have done with the entire Beyond the Wall dynamic is to just do it all completely fucking differently. Yes, I'm talking all of the events of Season 4, or really anything to do with the whole Marleyan Eldian dynamic, right from the episode of the basement book reveal and onwards. But before I get into that, a quick disclaimer, I do have subscription Tourette's, so if I ever randomly subscribe, bitch! Like that, then I apologise in advance, as I really can't help it. Prick! Hit the bell, you wanker! Where was I? Ah yes, the Marleyan Eldian stuff. When we criticise and provide ideas on how to improve a series, we often nitpick at the details and overlook that the entire premise of an arc or season could have been done more interestingly right from the root. See, for all of seasons 1, 2 and 3, Isayama rides a very dangerous line of relying on melodrama to carry the story, but the storytelling is always just good enough and just interesting enough to prevent that ever really becoming a problem. Now that's not a criticism, I'm actually praising him here despite what it sounds like. I think there are very few authors in the world across manga, film, TV, or even novels that could pull off having such a melodrama-driven plot, and I loved it. Until the basement scene and the ultimate direction of the 4th season. When Grisha's basement book was first discovered by the Survey Corps, I'm pretty sure we all had the exact same reaction. That being, whoa, I was not expecting that, that's so fucking cool! We get to see our favourite characters do a reaction video to all the modern technology I grew up with, like photographs and Lamborghinis and Pornhub. This is so fucking awesome, yeah! But this is exactly where the issue starts. At first I was totally on board with it because I thought, that's my boy Isayama, always ready to hit me with the big what the fuck plot twist that actually makes sense. And it does all make sense. But it all feels too familiar. Once I got about 5 episodes into the 4th season, I realised that the basement book reveal is the first time where a plot twist felt like it might have been done purely for the what the fuck factor. I mean, let's rewind. Think back to the time when you first started season 3. If we were to have guessed what the mystery of the Titans was all about, we probably would have assumed that they were a scientific experiment gone wrong, or an alien race, or a curse that was placed on humanity when they fucked with some sacred ancient temple. All of these ideas would have felt far less whoa! At first, and I'm sure that's why Isayama decided to go with, actually, World War II alternative, question mark? But after a while, you realise that he wrote himself into a very narrow and ultimately underwhelming corner. All that really exists beyond the walls are basic early 20th century countries that Isayama himself realised are too boring to be worth having the characters explore. And lots of people who think nothing more of our favourite characters than bunch of island devils in it, mate. It's not exactly fun. And really, it's not all that dramatic either. It's just World War II. Season 1 was about surviving the catastrophe. Season 2 was a mystery adventure. Season 3 was fuck the government. Then Season 4 felt like something you'd find amongst those war films if you searched WW2 on Netflix. And not only that, but returning to my earlier bullet points about the roles of the protagonists, we're in World War II with a pretty fucking dismally weak cast. Hanji and Armin were infinitely more interesting, funny and charming as Erwin's underlings. Connie and Jean weren't constantly depressed. Historia was, in the story. Sasha was, alive. Ymir was also alive. Mikasa was not a lesbian, and Levi wasn't being pulled around in a fucking wagon. Then we're given Gabby and Falco to fill the gaps, neither of which we have time to give a flying shit about. I would like Gabby if the story continued for longer and she got accepted into the main cast and picked up a bow and arrow and lived in Sasha's place. And I might like Falco too if he had 3 seasons to grow up, but they just don't have that. And as for the villains, I think I'm gonna make a whole video on them, but long story short, they're all riddled with issues, and they didn't used to be. That's the worst part. One of my favourite things about Attack on Titan used to be its lineup of realistic and relatable antagonists, but the later direction of their arcs have incessant problems that need fixing. Isayama couldn't decide if Zeke was good or bad. He tried to make that cold-hearted murderous bitch Annie into a valiant warrior by having her self-righteously belittle our main cast for not being capable of killing their friends. Reiner got pushed to one side and forgotten about. He just starts to come across as an overly pained, weak man, and he and Annie both have super empty backstories. We were made to dislike Magarth way too much during his introduction to give a shit about him now, and he dies anyway. So what are we left with? Just Flock, really. And Flock's good. I like him, but he doesn't get the respect of a few "this is how sad I am and why I support Eren" scenes. He's just painted in a purely evil light. It's insulting, as if we as an audience aren't considered intelligent enough to be allowed to decide for ourselves whether or not he's a bad guy, because Big Daddy Isayama already decided that for us by portraying Flock as an absolute cunt. I really hate it when I feel handheld, like the story is trying to teach me what's right or wrong. Just show me an interesting scenario and the consequences of characters making various decisions, and let me figure out for myself what should have been the right thing to do. It's really quite a shame. I realise I haven't yet proposed a better way for the series to end, and that's because it didn't need to. Attack on Titan had all the elements needed for the world's first long-running, dark, seinen-esque adventure anime. It could have rivaled One Piece. Think The Dark Continent meets The Promised Neverland. Picture this. How much more exciting would it have been to have our Survey Corps, all our favourite characters, Levi, Two-Eyed Hanji, Sissy Boy Armin, mature, calm Eren, long-haired Mikasa, bad bitch Historia, repenting Gabby, Jaw Titan Falco, and how about an injured Sasha rather than an injured Hanji, all exploring an alien civilization where multiple cities are kept behind giant walls, perhaps as preservation zones or something. Preservation for what? Fuck knows! You tell me! I guess the Paradis City would have been a place to keep these pure titans, whereas other cities could hold other kinds of titans, or maybe even other alien forms entirely. Hell, they could keep this idea of recapturing the Attack Titan, but make it because some epic shit is going down on the outside. The Titans in a City premise is so versatile, and what was done with it? Racial segregation. Excuse me while I... oh god. Anyone else? Fuck. It's just underwhelming. As I said, I have a lot more to say about the villains, and I think I'm going to make an entire second video on them, so look out for that. In the meantime, that's all from me. Subscribe, you piece of shit!